Lee! Hey, scrotum breath. Lee, where are you? Lee, come on! Check, test, check. Kill your mother and father. Establish the new order. No enemies. You must not defile. Weakness is disease. Survival is superiority. No enemies. Fire! How's that? Oh, let's see. Steal the money from your mother, buy a gun. We destroy the family. Kill your mother and father. We destroy the family. Isn't that nice?
Welcome to a concert in the San Fernando Valley. If all this seems a little bizarre and frightening to you, you're not alone. These are mostly middle-class suburban kids out having a good time on a Thursday night in Reseda. They're punks, and the subculture they've embraced is causing problems that go beyond the usual generation gap. The kids are mostly male, usually very young. Some are in their early teens. A lot of parents think these kids are just plain out of control. For those parents and their kids, this is not just another foolish teenage fad. It's a daily crisis. This is a story about parents and punks and some families in trouble.
They're filming your ugly mugs here tonight. So if you don't want your to be shown on television, get the out.
Believe it or not, this is not a full-scale riot. There are rules in all this bedlam, and the rules are being enforced. Yes, there is spitting and slam dancing and backflips into the crowd, but intentional violence and serious injuries are not common. The kids say it's just controlled aggression, and maybe it is, but it's guaranteed to scare any parent who sees it. It should be noted that all this activity is incited by music. That's another thing that frightens parents. In fact, this is a local band called Fear. The lyrics are hostile, crude, and the beat is frantic. Tickets to this concert cost $8.50.
It's about living in New York and Philadelphia. About bums laying in snot and puke with flies crawling all over them in the heat of July mornings with 3 or 4 bottles of cheap wine in their gut, and the cars running them over and the cops throwing them into the back of the pig wagons with the pitchforks, and people rolling them, and flies everywhere, and drunks on your doorstep, and freezing to death in the wintertime, people push in front of the subway, get tuberculosis, millions of queers like that. This is real communication. Yeah, if you go see jazz, they just sit there and talk. They don't even understand what's going on the bandstand. At least here, everyone's paying attention. They don't all like it, but they're all listening. Yeah, at least you feel like you're alive for once. Let's have a war! Blame it on the middle class! Let's have a war! General Motors get fat like last time! Let's have a war! Give thanks to the queers! Let's have a war! The enemy is within!
You get the feeling that Fear is putting us on. Their music is satire, grotesque satire, but satire nonetheless. That's probably not much comfort for parents if their kids are young, unsophisticated, and take the punk message seriously.
It's a theory of life. It's what you believe in.
Punk rock is something that you dedicate yourself to.
Just because we're different, they have spaz attacks. Believe in anarchy, man. It's going to be the way.
It's not hard to understand why some of these kids' parents think something is desperately wrong, or why they feel frightened and helpless when their kids turn into punks. When we come back, you'll meet a family in crisis, where punks and parents clash in a suburban battle zone. Punk started in England, but it was several years before it made its way into America's suburbs. For American teens and preteens, it was a new discovery. What was once an expression of working-class rage is now prepackaged individuality for teens with a yen for rebellion. Punk may well be dead in London and New York, but it's alive and well in suburbia. Meet the Hodges. Ron Jr., his sister Rhonda, Ron Sr., and Carolyn. They were a happy family who lived a quiet suburban life. Ron Jr., 15, was a junior high school football star. Rhonda, 16, was a cheerleader. Now, the kids are punks. And for the Hodges, that's a big problem.
They were thinking of putting me in a mental hospital for a while, because they figured I didn't want to live here, so they put me in a mental hospital. Thought I was crazy or something. It was because I changed.
The punk movement seems to be totally anti-parent, but especially anti-mother. And of course, it leaves me wondering, well, what did I do? What did I do?
When I first got into punk, I was saying, well, I'm not going to become anti-parent. And now I'm really anti-parent. I just changed.
This is a kid that changed from a top athlete and an honor student to a kid that was ready to drop out of school, didn't care about grades, doesn't care about athletics, doesn't care about anything except maybe listening to the music. He has no goal.
Well, we ran away because, we felt we didn't have any freedoms or anything.
They cannot just take one drink. They're going to drink to get high.
You're saying they.
Well, you've done some drinking.
I've had maybe the equivalent of 1 glass of beer.
Well, you drank a half a bottle of wine before you drove my Cadillac.
When was that?
At the football game.
Oh, well, did Tina tell you that she did too?
No.
See, she did too.
Tina didn't tell me anything. I read it in your own handwriting.
Oh, well, she did too. Now you know that. And her mother's going to.
We knew something was wrong. We didn't know what. And we had to use every method at our disposal to find out what was going on, because it was coming to the position where there was going to be physical violence.
They went through all my stuff to find out if I really did lie. And they found out by reading my diaries. So my advice to everyone else would be don't keep writing.
We did go through her diary. I was only able to read a couple pages before I just felt sick to feel that this is what she has done to me. This is what she's done with my trust. To feel that she could do that to me.
It's like they show us one side. They put on an act for us when they want something. But we found out that they're not like that. And that really does hurt.
We found a letter from one of Ronnie's girlfriends that really set us off. We had the girl's father come over, and he read the letter, and the things that they were saying about what they wanted to do, getting drunk, swallowing pink hearts, and getting high, it was an eye-opener. It finally led us to a clue as to what was going on and why we weren't getting through to them.
They're too overprotective. And they say, you know, how we broke their trust. We never had their trust. They never trusted us at all. So, you know, we'd just lie anyway. What can it hurt? They're not trusting us anyway.
He's been at enough counseling to where somebody's told him that my fixation for him playing football is I'm trying to live my life through him and be the football player through him that I never was, et cetera, which is a lot of BS. Basically, I don't need to go watch him play football. I can go watch anybody play football.
There's such a thing as diminished love. And believe me, we're experiencing it. When you've had so much hate come towards you for such a long time, love diminishes.
Because Armageddon's here at last. We'll all go up a nuclear blast. Fight war, not war. Fight war, not war.
So far, the Hodges haven't found any solutions to their punk problem. Now they're getting professional help. But the kids are still alienated, and the parents are still distraught. They are no longer a happy family. And they aren't alone. There are, of course, no figures on the number of punks in Los Angeles. Some say the movement is growing. Some say it's dying. Some say it isn't a movement at all. Maybe it's just a phase these kids are going through. Someday all these kids will be happy, well-adjusted adults. In the meantime, there's a big question facing a lot of parents and kids. Can the family survive this phase? When we come back, you'll meet a therapist who's trying to bridge the gap between punks and parents. Sometimes parents just can't understand. The kids do strange, violent dances at concerts where they're searched like maximum security prisoners. They may drink or take drugs. Maybe they run away. Maybe they consider a bald head and a swastika t-shirt the height of fashion. Some desperate parents turn to family counselor Serena Denk. Punks and parents are her specialty.
People have this vision of groups of parents getting together and trying to stamp out punk, which is not true. Parents of punkers is a group of people that get together, discuss ways of coping, of understanding, information, and it also involves the teenagers. It's not just the parents.
Hey, they don't give you 1 ounce of love. If they would even touch you, you know, he'll let me. If I say, Paul, let me hug you or let me kiss you, he will. He'll let me. He doesn't ever return a hug. I mean, you're just hugging a cardboard. He doesn't ever return a kiss. It's a cheek, you know. But that's it. I mean, nothing. Nothing.
It was impossible to talk to him for years. He would either be sleeping or he was out. Or if I tried to talk to him, you can't get through. There's no rational thinking.
At the same time, we allow them to explore a lot because that's a very healthy thing for minds to explore, the curiosity. Unfortunately, by the time she had satisfied her curiosity with punk, she became a punk.
The judge just didn't seem to care about anything and about anyone, and he didn't seem to care about himself. And it just to me seems such a waste.
It's made us like zombies towards each other. I mean, we support each other, but we're drained. You know, we just haven't been. We're so busy trying to figure out what we can do that we have no energy left for each other. You know, we're not blaming each other. You know, we at least got enough support from that through the different groups. It still left us so drained that it just put our relation on a plateau that is, we're like good friends, or friends anyway, not necessarily even good friends.
I wish more parents would call me who wanted to know, to understand, even if their child is not into it, to just have some idea of what might happen, what to look for, so that they're not shocked when their kid comes home with green or orange hair and asks to go to a gig and they don't even know what a gig is. I think that everybody should learn about it because it is something of the 80s. And maybe it'll pass in the 90s, but we're still in the 80s.
Like, what we're trying to do is open their eyes saying, hey, the world's changing. Don't be so narrow-minded. That's what punk's all about.
I left, and then they didn't want me. They didn't want me back because they said I was too out of hand.
Personally, I'd rather die of nuclear fallout than chemical warfare. Why don't they attack that? Mustard gas, you turn into a big blister. It's painful. I'd rather die instantly.
She thinks I'm really morbid.
Why?
Because I look dead a lot and things like that. Because I keep dead flowers in my bedroom and stuff.
So she thinks you're kind of embracing the concept of death.
Yeah.
Are you?
Not really, no.
I don't want to bring another human being, another life form into a world that just sucks. This world is terrible.
There are, of course, no final answers or cures to be found in these therapy sessions. They do provide parents with basic information about punk and all its rituals. For the kids, it's a chance to talk with at least one adult who is trying to understand without judging. Dank is not a deprogrammer. She simply tries to get parents and punks to talk together, which may be the first step.
We're all talking about future, and you drop out of school when you're 12 or 13 or 14. How do you think you'll get back into it, or how does one get back into it after you drop out?
I used to do really good in school until I stopped going. Just got bored of it. I'd sit in class and stare at the walls. I wouldn't take anything that the teachers said. Test would come around and I wouldn't know what they were talking about.
We had to try to save all the young people because young people is the future of the country.
I tell him, hey, if I drop dead, you'd walk right over me and go out to your friends.
Does that hurt?
Oh, yeah, it kills me.
Why does it hurt you?
You know, your own kid. You know, somebody that you love.
It's been very difficult for me, and I think it's been very difficult for Oliver. Cut up, broken hands. It's difficult for me to speak right now.
After watching this little therapy session, it's important to remember that this is not the first generation to bring parents to tears. Teenagers have always had a special talent for that. And you have to ask a question. Are these kids troubled because they're punks? Or are they troubled because some teens are always troubled? When we come back, the oldest question. What's the matter with kids today?
Kids, I don't know what's wrong with these kids today.
I'm a punk. I'm dissatisfied with your society, man.
Kids, who can understand anything they say?
It just means individuality.
Kids, they are disobedient, disrespectful oafs. Noisy, crazy, sloppy, lazy loafers.
They think I'm like going crazy or something.
While we're on the subject, kids, you can talk and talk till your face is blue.
I think they're more worried about the car. They're all, you didn't get the car back too, like you said, you know. It's like that. It's not really me. I guess they think I could handle myself.
Why can't they be like we were, perfect in every way? What's the matter with kids today? I've got you.
Every generation asks the same question, and the answer is always the same. Parents worried when Bobby Sox teens swooned over Frank Sinatra. They worried when a greasy-haired hillbilly brought rock and roll to the kids. They worried when the Beatles propelled teenage hysteria to new heights. But if we learned anything in all that time, it is this. Kids grow up, and subcultures die. Punk, too, will fade away.
I think at this point, nothing faces me anymore. I've seen everything. I don't get shocked by anything. I'm concerned continually. I'm very concerned. I think that's another reason why I hang in there, is I want to see these kids survive this so-called phase.
I used to fight a lot. I used to just go off and beat the shit out of someone for no reason, just, you know, leave them there half dead. But, you know, I kind of grew up about that, and I see now that was like really dumb.
I'm gonna be an artist. I don't know if I'm gonna go to art school or anything. At the moment, I'm a model for hair.
I'd like to graduate from high school and then go into law school and pursue a future in that.
My name is Todd, and eventually I hope to go into business.
I like the way I am right now. It's my style, just the way I am. And nothing's going to change it until I want to.
Okay, it's time to go. He was about to crunch salute yous. Sure.
Hey, you guys, beer's coming out. I'll bring it on the side.
Hello. That mic ain't working. Greetings, friends. What have you mooks been doing since the last time we saw you? The same shit, I bet. You give a no one's offended, right?
Hey, there's a big loogie in my beer. How could that happen?